Hello, and welcome to the first lecture of Chapter 24. Most of what we're dealing with in Chapter 24 is what's called the Consumer Price Index. And it's a tool that we'll use on and on throughout the year, but it's also something that you will encounter in your personal life over time. You will see it, if you've not already heard it mentioned in a news story, you will in the future. Just keep your eyes and ears out for it. So there's a lot of math in this chapter, and a lot of it is just pretty simple calculations that I know you're all capable of, but I really would like for you to spend some time going through these slides, doing the calculations on your own. So if you need to, hit pause on your YouTube and watch these things. So moving along here, we have things that we'll learn in this chapter. Okay, CPI, the problems with CPI, the differences, and like I said in the last chapter, the real world uses CPI much more than we use GDP deflator to calculate inflation. And a couple of other questions that we answer. So here is what it measures. A typical consumer's cost of living and cost of living adjustments. You'll see this phrase, COLAs, and they're not talking about Pepsi or Coke. What they're talking about is how much the cost of living changes over time. And it's particularly important for people who get Social Security. So for instance, at this point in the United States, the price of gas is determined to be a necessity. Even though it's not, it's felt to be a near necessity. So when the price of gas goes up significantly, that needs to get factored into Social Security checks. So people who are collecting Social Security, people who are retired, will get more money in the Social Security checks when gas goes up. So this is how CPI is calculated. You'll always hear of a CPI basket. And what you're looking at is a basket of goods, all the things that are consumed. So when they're calculating it, the government uses, actually it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a branch of the government, uses a certain basket of goods that they compare over time. So what they'll do is they'll collect the data on these prices, and they'll literally go to grocery stores, see the price of food. They'll go to gas stations, see the price of gas. They'll look at housing numbers, see the price of housing, and they compute that basket's cost. And so then what they'll do is they'll look at the price of that basket from, say, for instance, the quarter one of 2012, and they'll compare it to quarter two of 2012. And when those numbers come out, there is a great deal of volatility in the stock market because that's our truest sense of what inflation is. So I can guarantee you when they looked at the same price for quarter one and quarter two, the quarter two was just a little bit more expensive than quarter one. Okay, here's how the CPI is calculated. I'm going to give you a minute to look through this. It's a pretty simple calculation. You're taking a percentage of the basket in the current year versus versus the cost of the basket in the base year. So, as you can probably figure out, if the price in the current year is higher, the CPI will be greater than 1. I'm sorry, will be greater than 100% or greater than 1%. And if the cost of the basket in the base year goes down, it will be less. Okay, and this is how you get your inflation rate. Just right here. Okay, I'm not going to say 99 times out of 100, but I'll say 90 times out of 100, the number usually is going up. Okay, we almost always have inflation. Okay, the price of goods getting more expensive. Okay, we very rarely have deflation. It happens occasionally, but very rarely. Here is an example for you to do on your own, and going to my iPad, this went wrong. What this should say is, forget about this 100 here. It should say 100 here, and it should say 115 here. So I apologize for that. Technology is supposed to make our lives easier. So I'm going to pause this and let you look at it for a while. Okay, next slide. So now please take out a piece of paper, and I want you to compute the consumer price index in 2005. Do part A and part B. So pause it right now, hit pause on YouTube, do the problem. And we're back. So as you can see, in part A, the CPI for 2005 was $125, given this basket of goods and these prices. Hope that's the answer you got. And part B, the answer is that the inflation rate was 40%. Once again, I hope that's the answer you got. If you were the president at this time, the chances are that if you were not going to lose, you were going to lose your election. If you're a dictator, the chances are you're going to have a coup d'etat and that your head is going to be on a stick somewhere. 40% inflation is not good. Okay, so this is interesting. This is what's in the CPI's basket. And as you're looking through this, you probably can think of some errors as it relates to you. The reason being that most of you don't pay for housing, okay, and things of that nature. But this is the best we have. Okay, the CPI basket is the best we have. Now what you'll notice is most of you, for those of you who are seniors, are next year, this red component here, education and communication, okay, that's going to go up way higher than 6% for you. And the reason is because you're going to buy 2,000 iPhones. No, the reason is because you're going to go to college. And that number is going to go up greatly for you. However, for most people, I haven't spent much money on education in quite some time, actually until this year. Now my daughter goes to private school. But most people don't pay much for education at all. Okay, it's something that is very expensive over a short period of their life. But the BLS uses consumer price index to calculate inflation, and they've got to pick what's in the basket of goods, and they do the best they can. Okay, so now here's another slide for you to do. So please press pause and do this problem. We're back, and here are the answers. Okay, in 2006, the basket was $195. Hope that's what you got. And here, this shows you the substitution bias. Take a second to look at it. Okay, so you're seeing this is giving you, based on the substitution, you're getting different inflation rates. Okay, and that shows you the substitution bias. So I will stop here.